We're back in the Wavy Plus studio. The checker flag fell on Sunday. We wait for the green flag for this weekend. We are Between the Flags. Hi, I'm Jeff Snyder, the host of the show. Ethan Kraus also here again. Of course, Super just gave away what we were doing because we can never figure out how to do it in order. But we have a guest, and it's an esteemed. Oh, hey, there he is. I don't know why you're in the box right. Oh man. Well, there's Paul Andrews. He's here. Hi, Paul. How you doing?
Morning, guys. How are y'all today?
We're doing great. We're doing great. You know, yeah, I don't know why that happened, but that's a weird one. I've never seen that happen before. But Paul, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Paul, of course, 1992 Winston Cup championship winning crew chief with Alan Kulwicki. And Paul is here today to talk about the Kulwicki driver development program. And we have two local drivers who are involved in it. We have Aiden Milet and Riley Music, who will be part of it. Aiden is from Yorktown and Riley is from Norfolk. So Paul, first of all, how you doing in retirement? How's life going outside of racing right now?
Yeah, retirement's been very busy. We've been remodeling a couple of houses, one for myself and then one for my son. The one for my son was really unexpected, kind of last minute purchase for himself. And but it's really good to get to him and his granddaughter across the street from us. So it's really, really nice, or my granddaughter. And but we've been traveling a little bit here this year. Last year was just, pretty busy in general. But yeah, everything's been going good. Like I said, very busy.
Right, very good. So the Kulwicki driver development program. I'm looking up. I'm reading all about this. We get the email from Casey, your PR guy, who is wonderful, by the way. He's been absolutely awesome through all of this. And I'm reading through the list of names, and I recognize some names in there who have been part of it before. Like Carson Quapple was part of this. Quinn Hoff, who had made a few dozen starts in the Cup Series. He had a couple seasons in the Cup Series.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So. What is it about the Kulwicki driver development program? Because there's all these we always hear these driver development programs. Like Ford has one, Toyota has one. What makes the Kulwicki driver development program separate or stand out from those?
Well, I think one thing is we what we want to do is, our goal is to lengthen the life and legacy of Alan Kulwicki, right? So that's the goal, and then anything that these drivers can do to help promote that is what we do. Now we've been around for, this is the 11th year. COVID was in there. I think we skipped that year, but I mean, it's still, we've been around 11 years, this is the 11th year. So it's always about, picking a group of drivers that we pick a new group every year. It's always about picking a nice group of drivers that can represent Alan well, and again, promote his legacy and continue it. We do give the drivers a little bit of money throughout the season, and then we have a year-end championship where they all fight for the Kulwicki Cup, that we call it. And there's one champion at the end of the year and he gets another big decent-sized chunk of money, and that's always a plus. And we have a banquet at the end of the year. But during the season, we have media training, health training, lots of different things for them to participate in. The drivers, pick a charity or a couple of charities, and they participate in that. But it's really, the whole thing is all about just promoting young racers, and that's one thing we enjoy. Tom Majeski is our poster child. He was our first winner of the inaugural KDDP Cup. And then, of course, he's went on to be a Truck Series champion. And we've had other good names in there, too. That's a lot of drivers have, gone places and still in the sport to this day, which is also part of the deal. We want them to be around. We want the drivers that participate to be around, but we want to help them and help them go further.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you pay these drivers. A lot of these driver development programs don't do that. It's mainly sponsorship based and whatnot. And money is such a key part of all of this. I think a lot of people are starting to realize that more. Like, funding is very, very important to get drivers to the next level, or even just start out. I mean, racing is just
It's not easy.
It's not easy to get into.
Yeah.
It's very expensive. That's why I just talk about it. But but what went into the decision to make sure these guys get a little bit of extra money?
So yeah, that, the money is, I mean, during the season, the money's small. I mean, it may be a few tires here and there. It's like $7,000 spread out throughout the year. So again, that's a small contribution, but it also, it kind of helps them a little bit, gives them a little more incentive. Again, this is not, like you said, most driver development programs, they bring the money, and they bring there's not a lot of things going on there that they participate in it, but they're also paying to participate in it. So this is nice, and then it costs them money to do. Our deal is very small. It's like I said, decent amount of money at the end of the year, but it's nothing big. It's just going to be a little more, just a little bump for them, just a little encouragement, you might say. But yeah, money it's so hard. Late model stocks, super late models, they're really hard to get into and to get competitive. And if you don't have an advantage, you might say, like from people and more people, I think, is a big thing. And it's the people is what makes everything go around. You got to have the right people in place. But having the right people in place as a young team or having somebody that supports you and has the technology that you need that's what it's all about. You got to. Like you said, it's a tough sport. It's tough to get into, and then it's also it's tough to maintain.
You mentioned how you've been doing this for 11 years now, 11 years of finding that next generation of stock car racers at the grassroots level. And this year, when you all announced your 15 semifinalists, you announced that you had a record 102 applicants. Talk to us about that process of going through those applicants and selecting those final 15. I'm sure that was not an easy process of narrowing it down to that number, of looking at drivers across the country.
Yeah, no, that wasn't easy. And bring it, and our end result is 5, right? So, but with 102 applicants, we thought we cannot just say, we got to narrow it down to 10, which I think is what we normally do. And so with this many applicants, we have to increase the number that we're bringing it down to semifinalists. And of course, now we've got it down to 15. And that, it's quite the task to narrow it down to 5, to be quite honest, and, it's like, we have a record 5 drivers from Virginia this year, which is really cool. And we've got 4 drivers for let's see, what is it? 3 drivers from Wisconsin. And we always have a big following in Wisconsin, and there's a lot of talent in Wisconsin. All the drivers up Wisconsin, they race hard and they race a lot, even though there's a kind of a short season because of the obviously weather. But it's a tough little task to get it narrowed down. 102 applicants was really cool, though. We were all excited about that.
Now, the name Kulwicki means a lot to a lot of racing fans, but it's especially cool to see these young kids attaching themselves to Alan's name, because Alan's been gone for a long time. Like, even I never got to see Alan race. I was a baby when he left us. But I think it's really cool that these young kids get to learn about him and his legacy and just how hard he worked. Like, I don't think there's a driver in NASCAR history that I relate to more than Alan Kulwicki, because from the Midwest. I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Ohio. He was a Roman Catholic. I grew up going to Catholic school and grew up that way. He was college educated, and he just worked to know every little thing about his business. And I feel like I'm that way too. So it's really cool to see that these kids get to learn about Alan and how he operated.
That's exactly right. Especially, you didn't get to watch him race, so so you think about a 15-year-old kid, that applies for the program, even 18 and 20-year-old kids, they didn't get to see him race, but they do get to learn about him and just try to understand him more, see how, like you said, see how he operated. It's pretty cool. We've got, two other team members on the program that they get to interact with, and that's really nice. So it's a really neat deal to, like I said originally, to continue the life and legacy of Alan Kulwicki. That is definitely the goal, and to have these guys, all these young guys and girls, understand what he did and how much work it was and it is, to make all this happen.
Is watching the 1992 Hooters 500 part of disorientation. I feel like it should be. I feel because that was my introduction, because it would be on ESPN Classic as a kid. You remember ESPN Classic, Ethan? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
The race would be on ESPN Classic as a kid, and that's how I found out about this, the most amazing race NASCAR ever had. And I think every NASCAR fan has to watch that race at least one time.
Oh yeah.
And I hope these kids are going and taking the time to watch that race, because it was the most incredible thing NASCAR's probably ever done. I feel like they've been chasing it ever since.
That's exactly right. NASCAR tried to, come back and say, listen, this is a great race. We have 5 drivers, competing for the championship. And realistically, there was three of them that was realistic. But 5 drivers mathematically had a chance to win a championship, and people followed that. And I don't think the NASCAR realized how much, driver or fans followed the championship throughout the year. It was just something that also happened, So once they realized that, next thing you know, we have the chase. We have, we have things created to try to create that same drama that we had in '92, and they definitely come close, but it's still not the same as a '92 race, for sure.
I mean, Jeff gave a great introduction to it. I mean, widely regarded as the greatest race in NASCAR history. Take us back to, leading up to that race. What was the air like for you, your team, and your garage leading up to that race? Just talk to us about, what was going through your head leading up to it.
Yeah, that was it was pretty crazy. It was an up and down season for us, but a lot of ups. Dover was our downs. That was a place where I think we wrecked. I think that in 1992 we wrecked. We had 5 clips, maybe a combination of front and rear, and they were all from Dover, from wrecks. And clips is the front rear section of the car, so the race fans don't quite understand all that. But yeah, that was our downfall. We got pretty down there from a point standpoint, but we didn't let ourselves get down, and that's what kept us going. We kept fighting back and doing everything we could do, and with Bill having a few problems, and like everybody else did then, problems along the way, and next thing you know, we're back in the hunt, So, like we said, go win it. 5 drivers had a mathematical chance to win the championship that year, and then of course there's 3 of us realistically did it, and really it came down. And obviously, it came down to Bill and Alan to win the championship, with Davey having trouble at the beginning of the race. So. Yeah, it was quite the deal. We a lot of radial tires were fairly new back then. That's kind of funny to say, but yeah, radial tires were fairly new back then, and we were having a lot of transmission trouble on pit road as an industry, not just us, as an industry. And of course, we lost our first gear leaving pit road, and kind of we were handicapped for the rest of the race. So. As far as leaving pit road, it was hard to launch it. You couldn't launch out. You had to kind of, you're going to lose spots every time you left pit road. And then, and of course, with coming down to a green flag, gas only stop at the end of the race for Bill and us both, it was we had to do everything we could do to lead the most laps before the end of the race. And that's what we did. So it all worked out.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, of course, Alan finished second in that race. Bill Elliott did win the race, but since you led the most laps, you were champion. What was that? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It was, like I said, radial tires were new back then. A lot of things we didn't have back then. We didn't have all the timing and scoring we have nowadays. It was all hand monitor, handwritten times, checked and write the lap time down, and we tracked our laps, that we led a lot of laps and kind of knew how many we led. And eventually, and this is a common thing, NASCAR would say, okay, you have clinched. NASCAR would come to us, literally an official would say, okay, of course they'd come across the radio too, which we were listening to, but they would come to us and say, you have officially led the most laps of the race. And then we knew that was coming close, and we waited for that confirmation. And then, and of course the fuel mileage all worked out to where we could stay out and lead the most laps. And then of course that's what it came down to. And of course we still had to get enough gas in the car, which was marginal. Then finish the race and finish second. That was all. It all had to come into, play. It all came into play, and it all had to, work out just right.
So what was it like working for Alan, being that you probably couldn't get anything past him with his engineering background? Was he like a control freak like everyone says, or what did he kind of let you take the lead on certain things?
Yeah, there was a certain amount of things he let us go in as a group. Everybody had their own areas that we worked in. Of course, I was a crew chief that kind of handled all the stuff, and I'm the one that handled that on the most. Not really handled. I was one that interacted with him, but he interacted with everybody. If we're hanging a body, he's going to go back in there and say, let's try this shape right here and that shape there, or let's move it over here or move it over there. It came from his direction, from that he wanted, but that's kind of what we all did once we all had our guidance, our direction from him, and we all went down that path. We definitely, he was a tough guy. There's no doubt about it. He's a tough guy to work with, but once you got his trust, gained his trust, then it was on then. He was, you were in the inner circle, you might say, but gaining the trust was, something you had to do. And I did it, when I first started with him in '88, it's funny. We were building cars, and I was doing something. And he said, "Well, I would have done it that way, but I like that." So it's things like that, and then he would give you his opinion. And again, he was a tough guy to work for. But once you gain that trust, and once you had his trust, everything's really good, and a great guy to work with, a great guy to be with. You get him. In the evenings or whatever, the dinners or functions, and on a weekend that the short racing, it was he was a great guy to be around.
So, of course, Alan passes away, and then it's kind of like almost like the team was in limbo. Did you go to Jeff Bodine Racing after it was sold?
Yes.
You did. Okay.
Yep.
So you
stay with years.
Yeah. So you won a few races with Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. And then I believe it was, did you, I apologize. The internet was not very kind to me with you, but was it, I know you were with Michael Waltrip Racing. Was that the last stop you were?
So yeah, I left Jeff Bodine. I stayed with Jeff Bodine Racing for, I think it was 2 years. Went to, Penske Cranifus, which turned into Cranifus Haas. No, I went to Cranifus Haas, which turned into Penske Cranifus.
You got a 12 car.
And then with Jeremy Mayfield, and then we went to Dale Earnhardt Incorporated with Steve Park,
That's
and
right.
that was a great time. Of course, I was there with Steve. Had his injury, and that was very, very tragic. And man, he is a huge talent. Steve Park was. That was a great year we were having then. And we're with Jeff Bodine. We had with the Hoosier Tires, we had an awesome year. We won several races, and if we had a little better engine luck, we would have. I really think we'd have won the championship that year. And that was 94, right? Yeah. So that was it was crazy. Stayed with the DEI, and then of course was there through the passing of Dale, and left after that and went to Roush for a little bit. And then Michael Waltrip I went to Petty's for a little bit. And that was good fun. We had enjoy Kyle Petty to this day. He's a great guy, but ended up with in an Xfinity team for a little while. So ended up bouncing around. I never really found my one of my better homes, you might say. After that, really DEI was great. And then when we lost Dale, that was a tough deal, and just didn't like the direction everything was going. And I left there. I hated that one. That was I felt like that was a place we could go and stay for a long time. And unfortunately, that's what happened. But that's just that's the way the race car turns, right? So I ended up with my my last full-time cup job with Michael Waltrip after I about killed myself and I fell off a ladder.
Oh wow!
and that was it's a big injury there, so that set me back quite a bit. Several things set me back, and But that's okay. I had a great career, enjoyed every minute of it, and like I said, it's a really, really good career for sure.
Yeah. So Atlanta, track that means a lot to you. We were just there. Obviously, the track has changed quite a bit since 1992 and really 2001 and just forever. It's like on the third configuration that I've seen. But I know you watched the race. Tyler Reddick taking 2 in a row to start the year with 23:11. Just give me your thoughts on the racing and just the drafting and how things are playing out.
That is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It puts on a heck of a show. I don't know if I'm a fan of it or not a fan of it, to be quite honest. But yeah, it puts on a heck of a show. It's entertaining. The drivers are really, I mean, the drivers have to understand what they got. I mean, for Tyler Reddick to win the thing, which I think was great. I love Tyler. He raced with us in the ARCA team several years ago, at DuPont actually, and I did some other testing with us. And man, he's a great kid. Love his dad. Great family. And I went to a little off subject here. I went to 2311 and just was walking around the shop there talking to those guys, and then end up running into Tyler, and he remembered me from 10 years ago, which I was really surprised. But great guy, great family, and then to win that race with the fender off just tells you, Well, first of all, the big question is, was that an aero advantage? Obviously, it's not, but you want to think it is. But man, he was the drivers now in that configuration seem like they're the ones that play the key role in the thing. Obviously getting tires and not getting tires and being up front. That's part of it. But now we've got a little age to Atlanta. You're definitely seeing that tires are coming into play, which is what we love as racers. We want to see tires make a difference. And so watching those guys with no tires, up front, and then the guys with 4 tires coming up front, that's really good. It puts on a good show. I still like the old Atlanta.
Yeah.
But man, the new Atlanta puts on an awesome show. That's for sure.
I have an old video game that has old Atlanta in it, and it's probably my favorite track.
Honestly. Yeah, it is. I mean, the old Atlanta was so good, with the, but there's only a certain amount of drivers that know how to drive the old Atlanta, but they all loved it. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Difficult track, but I mean, 57 lead changes this past weekend, a record for the track. It's like you said, Paul, certainly entertaining to watch for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, we just had some technical difficulties here on Between the Flags. We somehow got out of sync, Ethan. I don't know what happened there, but I've never seen that. Never seen that happen before. But Paul Andrews is joining us on the show and to talk about the Kulwicki driver development program and his career and just the state of racing in general today. So we did mention this earlier. The chase is back. How do you feel that the playoffs are just gone now?
Yeah, I didn't like the win in your end thing. And what I didn't like the most is the part where, as a driver or a team, that you worked all year long. You worked really hard to be up there and stay up there, and you could lose it all in one race. Everything, your whole season goes away in one race. And I didn't like that part of it. I think it's great that the chase is back on. I'm excited to see how it all works. It's good that, drivers have to work all season to be consistent and to have good finishes and to finish. That's the big thing. You got to be there. You got to be there to win it. And if they can, with the old style where you win and you're in, it just didn't set well with me. And I love the part about being able to, run with, have points, let points help your season. And of course, winning is still important with the amount of points they give you when you do win. So, winning is still everything, but yet being consistent is a big part of it too. And that's what we all like.
Yeah, I agree with that because, I grew up when I was little, we had the Winston Cup system, and then I got the chase and then the playoffs, and the playoffs kind of dampened the championship, and in my opinion. And now that we have a chase again, like the best part about the Daytona 500 this year, I thought, was after the race, I didn't have to hear about Tyler Reddick being in the playoffs. We didn't have to look so far ahead that he ended the season at the beginning of the year.
Whole year to go.
Right.
I love it.
You know, and
Yeah.
another thing that you did that I didn't like is that, you know, they always, the fans and the media talked about, well, now he doesn't have to race anymore. Well, you know, I don't feel like that was the case. I do feel like that the drivers and the teams experimented, but I think they obviously all still raced, you know, did they experiment? Absolutely, you know, and then, you know, that made them look like they had bad weeks and, you know, they were just sandbagging. But I don't think that was ever the case, but yet, you know, experimenting was definitely part of the deal. Now they have to be more consistent. They have to race. They have to race all year long, and I think it's going to be a big positive change for sure.
Very good. Very good. So, Paul, one last question about the Kulwicki Driver Development Program, and maybe this could be an offshoot of it. Has there ever been discussion about maybe expanding it for crew chiefs or engineers or pit crew members because of Alan's background in engineering?
Yeah, there has actually. You know, we're trying to. You know, the last year we went from 7 drivers to 5 drivers, and it's all about funding. You know, but absolutely, you know, we would love to have you might say a series sponsor to help us out and to help us do this whole thing. And yeah, we've talked about crew chiefs and even media people. There's so many things that we do to help the drivers, and then I feel like we could do the same thing to help crew chiefs and to help them be a part of it. You know, so it's an interesting situation. I'd love to expand it. You know, of course, like anything else in racing, you know, it takes money, you know, to make all that happen. But yeah, that would be it'd be fun to do.
All right. Well, we are out of time here on Between the Flags. Paul Andrews, 1992 Winston Cup Series championship winning crew chief. Paul, thank you so much for joining us today here on Between the Flags.
Thank you, Jeff and Ethan. Thanks very much. It's a pleasure meeting you guys and a pleasure being here.
Yeah, sorry about the technical problems, but we'll iron that out in post. All right.
All good.
All right. That was Between the Flags for this week. We will see you next time.